So very keen to answer some of your questions. So we're just coming up to 4:10. So we did allow an hour and a half. So I have got one question here, which I'll just read out. So I think this is probably one for you, Jackie. So I'm not sure if you can see the screen, but I think the question is, there's lots of people working remotely from home with particular challenges, and probably until at least the end of this year, perhaps even further than that. I can personally see that there'll be a definite change in working from home attitudes from various organisations. But what tips have you got, Jackie, in terms of looking out for these red flags? Is there any particular tips that you find work?
Well, it's difficult really for identifying the red flags, because obviously a lot of the time you're wanting to look at the people that are there, but it might be that while they do have kids, that their pattern of work changes, but people do get into a pattern. So if you are seeing random logins for a very short periods of time, for instance, that might be a red flag. I mean, we're not just talking about the working from home and the internal fraud. It could be, as you were also saying, about malware. So somebody could have had a bit of malware on their system, and that person now has access to their computer, and they would be doing it all random times of the night, basically, when they know that person will not be on there. So I think that's obviously something that you potentially could look out for. It might also be changes in the way that people are actually emailing, their tone in their emails. I think from that you can potentially get quite a lot. People can, if they're stressed, if they've got too much on, things get very short, and that's probably where sloppy mistakes happen. Mistakes happen to everybody, but sometimes if you're overworked or you've got so many distractions going on, you're potentially caring for others, that's the time when you might see that change in behaviour on the email. Again, if you are looking at doing sort of Zoom or Teams, at least this way, then you can actually see that person, and it might be that you see that they've got a very nice house on a £10,000 salary, or some very posh things. Who knows? But I think just bearing in mind about that people, from an internal point of view, if they're worried about their jobs, they might start thinking, well, actually, somebody's just approached me and said that if I give them my login details, they'll pay me, £500. I could do with that £500. What harm can it do? And again, we are seeing these approaches. I think there was a really massive data breach, and Sage, there was a woman from Sage, she sold her login details. And I think that's, again, people in these uncertain times, they worry about their jobs, they worry about money, they could have a partner on furlough, and they just get sucked into it a little bit.
I think the other example was the Morrison's example, Jackie, where a member of staff was let go. They weren't particularly impressed they were let go, and they posted a whole load of employee payroll details on the dark web. I can't remember if they sold that for money or it was just vindictive, probably both. And that was a huge case that has been rumbling on in court over the last 18 to 24 months. So I think, if you've got a member of staff that's left in a disgruntled fashion, again, that and they were in a position of authority or had access to data, especially when they're now working from home, so they could quite easily print off, copy, write down, whatever it might be. I'd say from experience, that's another red flag as well. I'm sure you'd agree there, Jackie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, there's another question there in the chat, which is great. So if funds are diverted, say overseas, is it possible to trace where these have gone, who would do this, and what recourse does the victim have? So I think if I answer high level, and then I'll pass the hospital pass over to Jackie. From experience, these cyber criminals are extremely clever, and they'll bounce their IP address all around the world. So it's not quite as clear as it's gone from Angus's bank to John's bank. We can see he's done that. It's obviously John. We can go in his bank, get the money back and pass it back to Angus. Generally, it's bouncing all around the world, and it's impossible to track. So normally, once those funds have left your bank, the banks struggle to get that money back, no matter how quickly you contact them. And generally, if you're with a reputable bank, they're pretty hot on that, and they're looking out for sort of transfers that don't make sense or are going to accounts they don't recognise. In terms of what recourse you've got, if you've got a cyber crime policy or a good, well-written crime policy, depending on the incident, that policy could cover you and could give you recourse and reimburse you for those losses. If you haven't got a crime policy or a cyber crime policy, unfortunately, that would be a loss that your organisation would need to suffer. So that's where, I suppose, going back to my point, is really understanding what cover you've got in place and where any gaps might be. So yeah, Jackie, you're probably more of an expert on that matter than me. So if I've missed any detail out or you want to elaborate, please do.
Yeah. I think what you'll find is that obviously if it's the UK bank to bank, obviously we've got faster payments in and it's in the account straight away. Once it's basically gone round, say 3 to 4 different banks, that's it, the money will be gone. When you talk about overseas, if you act quickly and find it quickly, like in the example, then they can do something, and they will immediately freeze the account once they understand that there is the potential that it's fraud. However, say for instance the example that I stated, the Hong Kong one, that money would have gone straight out to China, and there are certain countries where you just cannot get any money back. So again, it will depend on what country it's gone to. And again, with the Hong Kong, having worked at HSBC, I do know that if the money goes into a Hong Kong account, somebody in Hong Kong has to physically go in and make a report to the police. So you can see how all the fees will actually really, really ramp up for you. So unless it's a very significant and large amount, I don't see you getting that back at all, particularly if it goes overseas, personally.
Agreed. I've not seen that from any incident we've had. Cool. So we've got another question here, which is great. Keep them coming, guys. Do you have any recommendations on how to keep employees up to date with the latest fraud trends? They could be on high alert and able to identify phishing emails instantly, for instance. So again, I think I can offer a bit of guidance here, and then perhaps Jack, if you can jump in. So one of the things we've been doing recently with a number of clients is fish train fish as an exercise. So what that is sending out a phishing email to a limited number of staff. So generally the client will provide a list of, I don't know, say 100 people. You can pinpoint certain people if you've got concerns, or certain departments, depending on your size. Just to test back and get the results from that, which will show you how many people have opened the email, how many people have clicked through, so generally attachment, and then even further than that, how many people have put in personal credentials. From that, getting a report and then training staff, whether that's educating the board and training the masses or doing a training session off the back of that. In every session we've run with clients on that, it is very scary, the amount of people that will click through and put personal credentials on what I would consider is a pretty bloody obvious phishing email. But that's perhaps because I work in the industry I work in and it's hammered into me every day. Other people aren't as strong at looking out for those areas and those sort of scams. And if you've not been privy to that, if you're not IT savvy, for example, which many employees aren't, we've got many of them in our organisation, we've had to educate ourselves. So I think that kind of exercise can be good for a benchmark, but it is all down to constant education. But Jackie, you might have some more to add on that.
Well, mainly just the fact that obviously when, from a personal point of view, when it comes to my own email account, I can instantly see they don't have the incorrect spellings or anything like that anymore. They're generally pretty good at that. But it really is about clicking on the top bar just to see, or even if you try to do a reply, you should be able to see what the actual email address you can go back to, so that you can understand that it's not the one they're actually showing. And also, you'll find that it generally doesn't have your name on it. A lot of these say, "Dear customer," "Dear madam," "Dear sir," or just "Hi." So again, look out for those that aren't actually addressing you correctly. I think the other way to stay up to date with the latest fraud trends as well is obviously to attend things like this so that you can actually take them back and feed this back, make sure it gets fed back to your employees, to the whole of the company. Obviously, Action Fraud do put things out as well, so it might be worth just checking their websites every now and then. And just making sure that you read the media. I mean, just doing a Google search and putting fraud in, or even just putting, whichever company you're from, whether it's, care fraud, whether it's charity fraud, you'll start seeing examples pop up. And then from them, you can actually see, that's how they're doing that. Oh, we haven't got that control in place. Let's make sure that we've got that control in place. Or if you can't put a control in place because you can't for everything, make sure that there is monitoring, whether it's ongoing monitoring or it's periodic monitoring. But you do have to make sure that you do monitoring where you cannot put a control in.
Great, yeah. So I suppose just to close that off, if you've got cyber insurance, the cyber insurers or crime insurers will work with a number of suppliers. So if an incident was to happen, they'll call in various people, from forensic guys to PR guys. So a number of those will have organisations which can do those exercises, or they can offer training or support. Some of the time insurers will do that as part of a bursary, or your main insurer might cover that as part of a bursary, because the idea is to improve your risk. So again, if you've got any particular requirements, wanted to chat a little further about that, myself and Howard are quite well versed on that, and we've got plenty of examples. So yeah, please do contact us. We've got a number of tools, both quite simple and complex. We can offer advice on there, but I think it's just a constant education for clients. It's not something you can educate your staff on once and then just forget about it. It's got to be a constant drip feed, and they might well get a bit fed up with seeing it, but it has got to be that constant reminder, especially when you've got a lot more people working from home, I would say. Yeah. Is there any more questions that anyone's got? We've got a couple of minutes left. Has anyone got any burning questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
bit left field. Jackie, how do you find it, sort of on the cultural front? So someone, there's been a phishing email, they've clicked on something, but then they're concerned they're going to get in trouble, so they don't say anything. Do you come across that?
Yeah, we come across that all the time, actually, because they are worried that they might lose their jobs, so they keep quiet. And I think the whole point is that you have to get across that nothing's going to happen to you, that mistakes do get made, and it's only natural that at some point you will make a mistake, and that's what what John was talking about the training, the bogus phishing emails that get sent out with these links on it, they're actual training. So, so the more that you can do that, the better. I mean, generally most companies can tailor that email so that it is a little bit more specific, so it is a little bit harder and not so obvious. And that's what they do a lot in the larger companies now as well.
So don't just train on the phishing, spotting it, but if it goes wrong, train them on it's a safe environment to put your hand up, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. In my experience, in the instance I've seen, generally it's a couple of people working in cahoots as well. I've seen that in the past, because they have someone else involved to get through one of the sort of mitigation processes in the chain. So again, I've seen instances where people have trusted a number of people, and then they've gone behind the scenes. They might start off very small. I think Jackie made a very valid point. It does tend to start off very, very small, and then builds up when they get a bit more confident and cocky, some might say, and then they sort of go for the larger amounts, and that's when they tend to get caught. I've had a few interesting ones, actually. I had one many moons ago, back in the day when I worked for Zurich, where a client, a lady stole, I think it was about £5,000. She was quite a junior member of staff. She was going through a very tough time, splitting up with her husband, very short of cash. Stayed working with the organisation. 8 years on, she worked up to the dizzy heights of FD, and then felt so guilty, she went to pay back that money, including some interest, because she felt that guilty. And then the auditor spotted when she put the money back in, and then she was caught. And then the organisation was left with that moral dilemma: what do we do, and how do we process that? They've got the money back, but do they take it to court? Do they press charges, etc.? So yeah, there's a lot of moral compass elements to it as well, we find, when it comes through. So you don't always know what's going on in people's lives behind the scenes, especially at the moment. I think the divorce stats are jumping up massively last time I looked, the jokes aside, but you don't know what's going on in people's lives. So it's worth just bearing that in mind and making sure you've got those clear processes in place. Sorry, Angus, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, it's just that dilemma of people spot things or do things, but they're scared of the consequences. In reality, usually in these incidents, time is of the essence. You really need to, I've done something I probably shouldn't have. I've clicked on something, or I've just spotted that the email address isn't quite what I thought it should be. From an IT's perspective, the sooner they know, the sooner they can do something about it. Sleeping on it is not a good idea. It's too late.
I think that's valid. I think from the claims we see as innovation broking, probably 80% plus are what I call fat finger syndrome. So it's not no malice, there's no intent. It's a general mistake or just naivety. There's nothing. It tends to be more external fraud, and people aren't understanding the risk and really managing that risk. That's what we tend to see ourselves, and I think that's probably a fair assumption across the board. We have got another question here. So there's going to be more discussion regarding the poll. Particularly interested in some insurers do wish to pay the ransoms ASAP to keep costs down. So Angus, being you're calling from the insurer angle, what's the ecclesiastical view on paying a ransom?
It's excluded in our policy, and I think again, I know insurers are not everybody's cup of tea. We're not the most popular people on the planet, but I think in this instance, there's very good reason. If you pay that ransom, you got to remember that from the criminal fraternity, they are running their activities as a business. So you've just paid them their reward, which they will then reinvest in their business and do more and more and more and more. So you are perpetuating the problem. The National Cybercrime Security Centre, the retired CEO of that government organisation, has recently been in the press saying, we really need to get a grip of this, because it's a global issue and we've got varying approaches. But the one thing is clear, that they're not going to go away as long as we continue to pay them. So from that point of view, I think it is. The other thing as well is that criminals talk as well. So if you do pay, you will probably find yourself on a list somewhere on the black web. There is talk about, there is lists of soft touches or easy targets and all the rest of it, and criminals will sell that kind of information to other criminals. So not only have you now funded one criminal fraternity, that criminal fraternity will have sold your details on to multiples, who will then go and target you again. So it doesn't. I don't know, Jackie. You're the ex-fraud squad individual.
Yeah. Well, recently, having had a little trawl on the dark web myself, with very, very safely via a proper company, I can tell you now that there are victim lists, and it's not just about whether you pay ransomware or not either. It's about whether you're vulnerable to fraud. So do bear that in mind. Whether you're an individual or a company, if you've got lax controls, they will come at you time and time again, but from different angles, because they know that they've been lucky once, it will happen again. So do bear that in mind.
Right, okay. Any more final questions? I think we've just got a couple of moments for our allotted time is up. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Now, in seriousness, if you do have any further questions, burning questions, you want to come to us afterwards, please do let us know. This recording will be shared, and we can circulate the slides as well if requested. And again, by way of follow-up, we have got the cyber and cybercrime insurance video, which we'll talk in a bit more detail around cover, which we can share, which is just a 5-minute short video in layman's terms. and or we're more than happy to have a sort of more thorough review with you and what cover you've got at the moment and your particular risk yourself and where you might want to spend some time and attention on, whether that's risk management training, understanding the risk, or whether that's risk transfer with purchase insurance. Okay, so I haven't seen any more questions pop up. So with that in mind, I'm going to call the session to a close. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much to Jackie for your time and input there, really useful. Thank you to Angus and Ecclesiastical for their support as always. So have a great day, stay safe, and we'll speak to you soon, guys. Take care.